My friends, sometimes the hardest thing in life is not the battle. It's not the storm. It's not the noise. The hardest thing is the silence. That season where nothing seems to move, nothing seems to change, and you are left waiting. Waiting on the answer. Waiting on the breakthrough. Waiting on the door to open. And in that waiting, doubt comes knocking. Fear comes whispering. The enemy comes saying, "It will never happen." But hear me, faith is not proven when you receive the blessing. Faith is proven when you trust through the waiting. See, when you plant a seed, you don't dig it up every day to check if it's growing. No, you water it. You trust the soil. You wait on the season. In the same way, trust God in your waiting. Your delay is not your denial. Your season of silence is not the end of your story. Keep the faith, keep standing, keep believing, because the waiting room of life is not empty. God is preparing something greater than you can imagine. So I say this with fire in my heart. Do not quit, do not give up. What you're waiting for is already on its way. Trust the process. Trust the timing. Trust God. Waiting is often the hardest test of faith. It is not the fire that breaks most people. It is the silence. When nothing is moving, when prayers seem unanswered, when every door feels locked, that is when faith is truly tested. Anyone can believe when life is flowing smoothly. Anyone can trust when blessings come quickly. But when you are waiting, when the clock keeps ticking and nothing seems to shift, that is where the strength of your faith is revealed. The waiting season feels like pressure, feels like walking through a fog, unsure of what is ahead. Your mind begins to wrestle with doubt. Your heart wonders if God has forgotten you. But faith whispers a different story. Faith says, even when I cannot see the hand of God, I will trust his heart. Faith says, even when the answer has not come, I will hold on to the promise. Like a seed buried deep in the soil, growth happens in silence, in darkness, in patience. You don't see the roots stretching. You don't see the stem pushing. But in the unseen, life is forming. The same is true for you. In your waiting, God is working. In your silence, heaven is moving. Waiting is not wasted time, is sacred time. It is the place where your faith is sharpened. It is the space where your character is built. And though it feels heavy, though it feels endless, you are being prepared for what's ahead. So, when you feel the weight of waiting, do not despise it. Do not run from it. Because the hardest test of faith is not the fire, it is the silence. And if you can trust God in the silence, you will walk stronger through the storm, and you will see the promise in its season. Doubt and fear increase during silent seasons. When nothing seems to move, when your prayers echo back in the stillness, the mind becomes a battlefield. Questions start to rise. What if it never happens? What if I missed my chance? What if God forgot about me? Silence has a way of amplifying the voice of fear. It magnifies uncertainty and makes the future feel heavy. You begin to wonder if the waiting means you are abandoned. You begin to ask if the silence means there is no answer. But silence does not mean absence. Silence does not mean rejection. The season of silence is not punishment, it is preparation. And yet fear loves to step in when your eyes cannot see what is coming. Fear whispers that you are not enough. Fear shouts that the promise is gone. But faith speaks in a still, steady tone. Faith says, hold on, even when the storm rages inside your thoughts. Faith says, trust, even when the path is covered in shadows. It is in the silence that courage must rise. It is in the silence that you must anchor yourself deeper. Like a tree digging its roots into the unseen soil, you must hold firm. Doubt will come, fear will knock. But you have the power to choose whose voice you will believe. Will you let fear write your story, or will you trust that God is still writing? Even when heaven is quiet, the author has not left the page. Even when you cannot hear his voice, his hand is still at work. So when doubt surrounds you and fear grows louder, remember this truth. The silence is not empty. The silence is a sacred space where your faith is tested, where your strength is forged, and where your trust is refined. True faith is shown not when you receive, but when you believe in the unseen. It is easy to celebrate when the blessing arrives. It is easy to lift your hands when the prayer is answered. But faith is not about what you can see. Faith is about what you trust before it appears. Anyone can rejoice when the miracle is in front of them. But real faith is proven in the dark, when all you have is a promise. It is proven when the evidence is invisible, yet your heart still believes. Faith is choosing to walk, even when you cannot see the road ahead. Faith is lifting your eyes to the hills, even when the valley surrounds you. Faith is trusting the seed is alive, even when the ground shows no sign of growth. The unseen is the training ground for faith. It is in the unseen that patience is formed. It is in the unseen that character is built. It is in the unseen that strength is forged. Because faith is not about sight, it is about trust. When you already have the blessing, you don't need faith. But when your hands are empty and your eyes see nothing, that is when faith becomes alive. To believe in the unseen is to declare, even without proof, that God is faithful. To believe in the unseen is to hold on, even when hope feels fragile. To believe in the unseen is to stand firm, even when everything around you shakes. Faith is not waiting for the proof. Faith is the proof inside of you, burning quietly, whispering that the promise is still true. So remember, true faith is not measured by what you hold in your hand. True faith is measured by what you hold in your heart, even when the world tells you it cannot be. A seed grows underground before it breaks the surface, so do blessings. When a seed is planted, it is buried in darkness. No one sees what is happening beneath the soil. It looks as if nothing is changing. It looks as if it has been forgotten. But deep within the soil, life is stirring, roots begin to stretch, strength begins to form. The foundation is being prepared long before the sprout reaches the light. And this is how blessings work. You may feel buried, you may feel hidden. You may feel overlooked, as though nothing is moving in your favor. But the truth is, the greatest work happens in the unseen. Just because you cannot see the growth does not mean growth isn't happening. Just because you cannot feel the breakthrough does not mean it isn't on the way. The soil is not your grave, it is your preparation ground. It is where God develops your roots before He reveals your fruit. If the seed surfaced too early, it would wither. If it broke through before its roots were ready, it could not withstand the storm. In the same way, your blessings are being strengthened beneath the surface. What feels like delay is actually protection. What feels like silence is preparation. What feels like waiting is growth you cannot yet see. When the time is right, the sprout will break through. When the season is ready, the blessing will rise into the light. Just as the seed carries life inside it, so do you. Your blessing is alive even if it is still hidden. Your promise is growing, even if it is still underground. Do not mistake the silence for absence. Do not mistake the soil for the end. A seed grows underground before it breaks the surface. So, do blessings. Trust requires patience with God's timing. It is one thing to believe that God can do it, but it is another to wait for Him to do it in His season. We live in a world that wants everything now. Quick answers, quick results, quick victories. But the kingdom of God does not run on our clock. He does not move by pressure. He moves by purpose. And to trust Him means to surrender your calendar, your deadline, and your expectation. It means to say, God, I believe you, even if it takes longer than I hoped. Patience is not easy. Patience is the battlefield where faith is tested. When days turn into months, and months into years, the temptation is to lose hope. The temptation is to force your own way. But forced blessings never last. What comes too soon may not be ready to stay. What you grab too quickly may cost you what God intended to give freely. Patience is not weakness, it is strength. It is the ability to stand in the waiting and say, I will not move until God says it is time. It is believing that His timing is perfect, even when it feels late. The truth is, God is never late. He is always on time, but His time is higher than ours. He sees the pieces we cannot see. He knows the storms we cannot predict. Sometimes the delay is protection. Sometimes the waiting is preparation. Sometimes what feels like silence is God aligning the right people, the right place, and the right moment. Trust means resting, even when the clock is ticking. Trust means waiting, even when others run ahead. Trust means believing that what God starts, He will finish, but He will finish it at the right time. Trust requires patience with God's timing. Delay is not denial. Waiting doesn't mean rejection. Just because it hasn't happened yet does not mean it will never happen. Just because the door is not open today does not mean it is locked forever. Delay is not God saying no. Delay is God saying not yet. There is a difference between rejection and redirection. Rejection shuts a door and leaves you empty. Redirection holds the door until the right moment arrives. When God delays, it is not because he has forgotten you. It is because he has seen what you cannot see. He has heard conversations you were never in. He has walked through tomorrow while you are still standing in today. And sometimes his love looks like delay. Sometimes his protection looks like a closed door. Sometimes his wisdom looks like silence. It does not mean the promise is gone. It does not mean your prayers are wasted. It means God is aligning what you asked for with what you are ready to carry. A blessing given too soon can become a burden. A promise released too early can break under pressure. So God waits. He waits until your character matches the calling. He waits until your strength matches the weight of the blessing. He waits until the season is ripe for the harvest. Delay stretches your faith. Delay sharpens your patience. Delay teaches you to trust beyond what you see. And when the answer finally comes, you will realize it was worth the wait. Because the delay did not destroy you. It developed you. It made you stronger, deeper, wiser, and ready. So when you face delay, do not mistake it for denial. Waiting does not mean rejection. It means your story is still unfolding and God is still working behind the scenes. Silence does not equal abandonment. When heaven feels quiet, it is easy to believe you have been forgotten. When the answers do not come, when the prayers seem unanswered, your heart begins to question. You wonder if God has turned away. You wonder if your voice even reaches him. But silence is not absence. Silence is not rejection. Silence is not abandonment. Think of a teacher in a classroom. When the test is given, the teacher is silent. Not because they are gone, but because they are watching to see what you have learned. In the same way, God's silence is not his departure. It is often his way of building your strength. It is his way of deepening your faith. It is his way of reminding you that trust goes beyond feelings. Even when you cannot hear him, he is near. Even when you cannot feel him, his presence surrounds you. The silence is often where your roots grow deeper. It is in the quiet seasons that your character is shaped. It is in the stillness that you discover the strength within you that was placed there by him. If God spoke every moment, you would never learn to walk by faith. If every prayer was answered instantly, you would never learn endurance. Silence is not abandonment. It is an invitation to trust. It is a call to lean not on what you hear, but on what you know. What you know is this: he will never leave you nor forsake you. His silence is not a goodbye. It is a preparation. It is a moment of hidden work where he is arranging things you cannot yet see. So do not mistake his quiet for his absence. Silence does not equal abandonment. Keep watering your seed with prayer, faith, and perseverance. A seed cannot grow without care, cannot survive if it is neglected. And the same is true for the dreams, the promises, and the hopes God has placed inside you. They require your attention. They require your patience. They require your faith, even when you see no sign of life. Prayer is the water that keeps your spirit alive. Prayer reminds you that you are not alone in the process. It connects you to the one who gives the increase. When you pray, you place your seed in the hands of God, trusting him to do what only he can. Faith is the sunlight for your seed. Faith keeps you looking toward the promise, even when the ground still looks bare. Faith is choosing to believe that growth is happening beneath the surface, even when your eyes cannot see it. Perseverance is the strength that keeps you steady. Perseverance keeps you tending the soil, even when the waiting feels long. It pushes you to keep going, to keep believing, to keep expecting, even when everything in you wants to quit. Seeds don't sprout overnight. Some take days, some take weeks, some take years before they break through the soil. And in the same way, some promises unfold in a moment, while others require seasons of watering, nurturing, and waiting. But if you abandon the seed too soon, you will never see the harvest. If you stop praying, stop believing, stop persevering, the seed can wither before it ever has the chance to rise. So even in silence, water it. Even in doubt, water it. Even in delay, water it. Keep watering your seed with prayer, faith, and perseverance, and in its season, the harvest will come. The waiting room of life is a place of preparation, not punishment. It can feel heavy when nothing moves. It can feel lonely when prayers seem unanswered. The silence can make you believe you are forgotten, but waiting is not God's way of punishing you. It is His way of preparing you. Preparation always comes before elevation. No builder places a roof before the foundation is strong. No athlete enters the field without first training in the quiet. No soldier steps into battle without time in the barracks. The waiting room of life is your training ground. It is the place where God stretches your faith. It is the place where He sharpens your character. It is the place where He removes what is weak, so that what remains is strong. In waiting, patience is born. In waiting, wisdom is gained. In waiting, your dependence shifts from your own strength to His power. You may see the delay as wasted time, but heaven sees it as sacred time. Time where roots grow deep, time where endurance is built, time where your spirit is aligned with His will. If the blessing came too soon, you would not be ready to carry it. If the door opened too early, you would not be strong enough to walk through it. So the waiting room is not against you, it's for you. It is where you learn to trust without sight. It is where you discover peace without answers. It is where you become steady, even in silence. And when the time comes, when the door finally opens, you will see that the waiting was not wasted. The waiting room of life was never punishment. It was preparation for the promise you were always meant to receive.